choose not to take care of their property, or the attitude that it's my property, I can do whatever I want to with it, is showing a great deal of disrespect for the city of Bartlett and for the citizens of Bartlett. Properties, abandoned properties, and properties that are not cared for attract rats and vermin and become a hazard to all the other homes around it, and an insult to those of us who wish to have an attractive home in an attractive city. I wish that we didn't have to have ordinances to make people do what they should do because they want to, because they respect their home. If they need help, I think there's a community here that would be willing to step up and offer help at certain times. So what I am here to ask tonight is that the city take responsibility and enforce whatever ordinances there are, or create them if necessary, to help these places that are potential hazards and dangers for the city, to make sure that they're cleaned up or taken care of, or whatever needs to happen to make them safe for the community and our other historic landmarks. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. Next up, we have Jennifer Welch. Yeah, so get after it.
Thank you for allowing me a moment to address the city council members present and the members of the community. I'm Jennifer Welch, and I own several properties here in Bartlett, and I'm a property manager for many, many more. I love Bartlett, and I have an interest in her success and her growth. So today I'm addressing you specific to the fire at the church on the corner of Alamo Beach. This is my real estate listing, and I've had many, many happy hours watching the renovation, dreaming of what this could mean for Bartlett. A new homeowner or a business that could bring more spirit to Bartlett, not to mention more taxes paid in support of city infrastructure. Chris Ruiz, the owner, had hopes of her renovation being something to add hope and pride to Bartlett. And now, of course, it's gone up in smoke for what I feel are two reasons. The failure to enforce codes that are designed to keep our community clean and safe, and two, the lack of a sufficient infrastructure to support the city. As many of you know, yesterday, the brave Bartlett volunteer fire department was actually quick to respond. Excuse me. However, the infrastructure wasn't sufficient to support the efforts to fight the fire. The trucks were available, the men were on hand, but the water supply was depleted, rendering all efforts useless. We lost two buildings which contain some of the history and beauty of Bartlett. Additionally, there was debris, a truck trailer, and other items on the property that burned that are all a direct violation of city codes. These items added to the speed of the fire, hindered the access of the fire department, and generally made matters worse. The situation is a great wake-up call to the need to evaluate the infrastructure and plan as a community a way forward to ensure that our city and its citizens have what they need in order to live safely and comfortably in the town that we all love so much. As you know, new businesses are coming to Bartlett. That's part of what I'm doing, right? My question is, what happens if the next fire is downtown and there's not enough water to stop the fire? Can we bear the thought of losing our entire downtown? What happens when we have more people living in Bartlett who need water and electric services? Can our infrastructure keep pace with these new demands? What's going to happen if that fire is at your home and it's your children and your grandchildren who are depending on the water supply to save their precious homestead? These are valid questions, and we need as a community to evaluate our infrastructure and make a plan to move forward together. So that's my first topic, and I do think it's serious, and this was a huge, huge wake-up call for us all. So my second topic, and I appreciate you allowing me the opportunity to address two separate matters, is that I'd like to implore the council to evaluate the cost of a long and drawn-out legal battle with regards to action being taken against the mayor. I may not be aware of all of the issues. I don't think most citizens are. I don't necessarily think that in all instances is even my business. But what I am aware of is two things. There's an election coming up in May, and the citizens currently voted for Mayor Pack to be in office, and they have an opportunity to vote again in May. And two, with that in mind, in light of the short time frame towards that next election, I think we should be aware of the cost that's gonna impact the city. There's a huge amount of money that clearly could be spent on infrastructure matters. And so I'm just imploring, the council to consider that. I have no personal interest, but rather one of a community perspective in saving those valuable funds for the other needed things that are going on in the city. Thank you again. I appreciate all your time.
Thank you very much. Okay. Yes, actually, we have a statement here from, if I can get my thought. One moment, please. A statement from Chris, who's a church building actually down. She says, first and foremost, I want to thank everyone for their heartfelt support during the restoration process of the Central Texas Church and its demise. I know the church held a special place in the community's heart. It was a symbol, a belief in the past and future of the town. I've been privy to the beauty and strength of the Bartlett community. Preserving the past and building on the future has always been my mantra. This Sunday was a tragedy, but I would encourage the council leadership to see this as a phoenix, something that rises above the ashes and is reborn. Bartlett has, Bartlett has so much potential. Beginning with a strong community, neighbors caring for one another. I witnessed the love and heartfelt grief today. So my friends, today, I ask that you put your community first, join together, and make those hard decisions. I believe in you. I put my heart and soul into the church because I believe in preserving small town Texas. I believe in you and the Bartlett community. Establish guidelines, enforce the rules. Beyond that, understand that you can make a difference as a united front that embraces your history. I've been a proud member of the community in Bartlett. I've been a proud member of the community in Bartlett. It will always be a special place in my heart. I hope you see that. I hope you see it that we do, as you've been given the authority and privilege to lead us forward. All right, thank you, Chris. So yes, I mean that's a tragic thing that hopefully we all just learn from and make some positive changes. Let's see. Consent agenda. Approval of minutes and departmental staff reports. Oh, what about the minutes from last month? Okay. Well, in that case, the departmental staff reports, we have, worksheet.
For the month of August, the 128 traffic stops, 14 citizen contacts, 8 911 calls, 7 animal calls, 6 disturbance calls, 5 violations of city ordinance, 4 business vehicle or person calls, 4 narcotics calls, 3 legal complainants, 3 theft reports, 2 sexual assault calls, 2 disabled vehicles, 2 parking violations, 2 stolen vehicles, traffic accident, 2 11 medical calls, unknown status man down, 2 welfare concern, 2 total calls for the month of August, 216 calls served. Also, under code enforcement, provided y'all with a list of 27 properties that are in violation that can be abated according to our city ordinances and state law as of August 18, 2019.
Frank, would you like to?
Our utility department, we repaired two 2-inch water lines, repaired 4 6-inch mains, repaired 1 8-inch main, repaired 1 water meter, installed 4 water meters, installed 2 water taps, ran 1 new service line, installed new taps for a water tower, monthly meter readings, 8 connects, 3 disconnects, 2 readouts, 8 rereads, monthly collection, and monthly samples. Wastewater treatment plant and the collection system, we ran 2 sewers, we mowed the wastewater treatment plant and cleaned up the wastewater treatment plant. Electric, we replaced 2 meters, 1 single phase and 1 three phase, monthly meter readings, 5 connects, 3 disconnects, 2 rereads, and replaced 1 fuse. On our other, we did an emergency gas shut off, there was a leak in the home, so we did that. Citywide cleanup, 11 locations we called in, replaced the tractor battery, replaced the belt on the zero turn, repaired the control lever on the backhoe, removed the gazebo from the park, assembled the table set, and bench sets, and installed them all with the barbecues for the park. Cut and removed tree limbs from the park, moved canopy from the pool, and put it over the new table in the park, which had a 3-inch pump. We filled 53 potholes, trimmed tree at the water plant, unloaded incoming electrical supplies, worked on the budget, composed the customer service agreement, and formatted a utility ordinance for TCEQ requirements, and we did monthly wastewater.
Thank you very much. Yes, sir.
Y'all that don't know me, I'm Derek Wolf, Assistant Chief of our Volunteer Fire Department. Give you a little cap for the previous month. For the month of August, we were dispatched 43 calls. Out of those 43 calls, we had 6 traffic accidents. Here lately, traffic accidents have been on the rise for us. Last year, we saw a very limited amount. Just for the month of August, 6 of them. That's a pretty high amount for us. That's in the city and outside the county. 3 grass fires, 2 structure fires, 2 gas leaks, and 1 line down arcing. For the month of September, from the first of this month to the date, we've been dispatched 13 calls. Currently have a burn ban in Bell Winch and Milam. We always want to remind folks that there's always a burn ban inside the city limits. To recap on yesterday, while we were fighting that structure fire, there was a residence on Park Street that thought, well, hey, everything's burning around me. I'll go back to my backyard and light my brush pile on fire. That's not a smart move. So we just want to remind people that's not allowed here. The wildfire danger is extremely high right now. We're in a severe drought for this area. We have a lot of tall grass in this area, in our city, and outside the surrounding areas of our city. So it's a wildland urban interface type thing, and when it's dry, it burns quick. So yesterday we were fortunate to get mutual aid and auto aid with surrounding apartments. I know y'all saw the big city of Taylor here, Gerald. We're fortunate to have those assets available to us when needed. Unfortunately, at one point yesterday, during the main fight of the fire, we did lose water pressure through our main supply line. We had hooked to a hydrant. We were out of water for 10 to 12 minutes at one point. So that put a big damper on our fire operations. So just something to keep in mind with city infrastructure. I mean, this stuff can happen anywhere, anytime. Yesterday, the city of Queen burned 2 houses down, right next to each other. So it happens. Unfortunately, it happened here. That's about all I got.
Sure. Thank you very much. All right, regular agenda items.
Mayor, if you don't mind,
Yes, ma'am.
number 3A was approval of minutes, and it sounded like it was said that there weren't minutes from the last meeting. Those are public record documents, aren't those supposed to be available at the following meeting?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So is there an explanation to the citizens as to why those aren't available?
We can ask Kim. I don't carry the minutes with me personally. That's handled
Do those
within the
exist?
office.
Yeah.
What do you think we have to treat? I don't know, they're not getting approved right now this week. All right,
So we need to table this until the next meeting.
well, the approval of minutes.
Just for the next meeting.
There should be a motion to do that, I believe,
So there aren't any minutes, any dates listed, so.
but it has to be moved from this agenda item.
So it's a motion to.
Yeah, I make the motion that we move the approval of the minutes to our next regular scheduled meeting. Please.
All in favor? 5 in favor, it passes unanimously. Okay. And now on to the regular agenda. Discuss and consider possible action regarding the advantages of automated meter readings presented by Tom Gill, County.
All right, thank you.
Yes, sir.
I just want everyone to know, so they can unload their gun now. I'm not here to sell anything. This is only a moment of discovery that you all have an opportunity, to engage in.
Sure.
Q&A. I understand the city is going through some challenges, and I believe you have a engineering firm, BTS, maybe looking at different ways to improve the infrastructure with grants, et cetera. Now, with that said, I certainly will be out here anytime you all want me to come by, again and again and again. I put myself in your shoes. I've been doing this since 2015 in January. I have all the intel from different brands, from customers that are using it. And I can tell you a story about why I moved to this particular company. But I don't want to be in a position to spend a lot of time. However, I've been in some of these meetings and it's more than 2 hours, the board's kept. So I don't really know where we're going with this at this point, but I do want you to know that my time this evening is yours. If that's okay with you, sir. We did win this award here recently. I can't tell you how important that is. That's the second time that we have won this, and we've only been in this country for 5 years out of Denmark. So it's a Danish company. We're doing business with El Paso Water in Houston. Those are the largest in Texas, but we're in 90 different countries. So we're doing business with a lot of small and large companies, or utilities. And the smallest utility in Texas at this point is a new sign up. They partnered with us for 70 active meters. It's Mentone, Texas. They're a county seat for Loving County. And they're going to have the meter reading tell them what the meter reading is on an hourly basis from the meter to the office without dispatching the generator. I thought they were going to go with the less expensive drive read, where you're not doing anything but getting in the vehicle when you're driving, you're not having to touch anything, stop or anything, or point at anything from the truck. But they wanted to have what the larger cities are, engaged in, and that is to have a meter reading come into the office daily on an hourly basis, and giving them more intel than just a meter reading. 8 different alarms, so that they have basically control of what's going on out there. It's like having a policeman on every one of the meters all the time to lit up so they can see what's going on, and protect it from reverse flow, tampering, leaks on the properties of the customers, bursts, that's broken pipes, and 4 other different alarms. But this is a company that's been in business for 71 years, and they have not made mechanical water meters for the last 27 years. So we are talking about an ultrasonic meter that you can see through one end to the other, which I'm sure typically what you're using out here now is a
Mechanical.
Yes, sir. I mean, you can't see through it because there's mechanical pieces in there and, it's old technology. They're still selling like it's a brand new great thing for you, but you're using water. That meter is not capturing all the water that's flowing through. Ours does. It starts at 0.001 .015 of a gallon. There's nothing else out there that's actually, going that far. Yes, sir. It's important for the water department, I know, you add water pressure, that's one thing. But, it's important to be able to keep up with your water department, and really, realistically, one of the only ways basically to do that is to be able to find that at the end of the day, the end of the month, the end of the quarter, the end of the year, everything that you're producing from the source side out to the customer is exactly what it, is coming through the source. So that they gotta pay for your water system. Yes,
Does this have a battery?
yes, it does.
What's the useful life of the battery?
20 years, they've lasted 27 after, up to present. So since the beginning of the design of that meter, we still have meters in different parts of the world that are still operating without having to be replaced.
What's the
And the
range?
water that runs through it charges.
Excuse me.
Those are,
You interrupted me.
This guy.
no, it's a good question. And, it's a lithium battery, and, there are two of them in there, and they have lasted for 20 years. It's warranted for only 20, but they've lasted for as much as 27. Not 100%, but we have a good strong percentage of 100% of the meters that were put in, systems 20 years ago that are still not having to be pulled out
What's the range of this?
from the box.
The range, electronic range.
Okay. Well, if you want to get the meter reading, even 8 miles out, we can do that with the meter reading that comes directly to the office. Otherwise, if we do a drive read, you're only going to get, the distance of, outside of 20, a quarter of a mile, that's it. So it still gives you the chance to not have to cross fences, go through pastures, deal with domestic animals as well as wild animals. Just the intimidation alone from domestic and from wild animals can actually cause an accident.
So you're saying you don't actually have to drive up every street, you go up every other block?
Well, you pretty much should, yes, sir. Yes, sir. So it really depends on how the driver wants to do it. In fact, from wherever the driver starts, they're gonna get meter reading before they remove the truck.
Can your signal pick up your steel lid?
Yes, it does, and water. So, there's a lot of metal lids out there, and I would expect you to verify my words. We have given the city at least 20 references, and they're just randomly selected, but they're selected from a list that the utilities say, yes, it's all right for people to call us, ask us questions. It is even all right for them to come over and visit us in person and see our system work, if that's what they're interested in doing.
These available in commercial sizes as far as the diameter, and also, are there any grants available for any of the governmental agencies that would allow the city to convert from what they have to these that would supplement the cost of acquisition?
Yes, sir. Texas Water Development Board is one of the sources for low interest loans and for outright grants, but there are others, and I have since
We've already done that, actually. We're in the process, we've already applied for that.
it's maybe an agricultural community on the outside, but I don't know how far out. But the ag department also has grants that are available. Yes, that's right. Now, we have low interest loans too on the outside when you're like frustrated with exhausting every effort to get a grant. Sometimes the engineers just can't get a grant, but that's the best way to go. If you try it on your own, you're gonna maybe get lucky, but they're always interested in, okay, professional engineer, it's kind of like the way everything's regulated anyway. This sort of bureaucracy, you get an opportunity to get a better look through an engineer. It's what I found over the years. So even with that said, sometimes the utilities don't do ask us for the loan. It's a 5-year, 6-year, 7-year loan, whatever. Different different amounts of time for different utilities. But the first payment is not even due until the 13th month, so you benefited from the product and that length of time for your first payment, and it's yearly after that. But that's on the outside. But let me get back to you, sir. I think you had another question that I didn't actually get to answer yet.
Commercial size.
Yes, sir. Commercial size meters up to 4-inch. After that, it's a Siemens Camstra partnership. So everything up to 64-inch meter, we are told we can even get through Siemens, 94-inch meters. If, you know, talk about industrial and commercial size meters, I mean, I'm sure your meters out here from your source probably not more than 4 inches. Okay.
So, I think you were telling me earlier about the actual water flow is what generates its own
Well, that's right.
electricity or power source, or that's what sends the signal. It's using its own, the water flowing through it to do that, or charge the batteries. How does that work?
Well, no, the batteries are all on their own, they're independent. But the water flowing through the meter is not having to rely upon mechanics to make the register turn. We are all talking about ultrasound technology. So you have a signal that's sent in 2 different directions, one with the flow of the water, one against the flow of the water. And once those signals leave the parts and return, that length of time determines the actual usage. And we have done many what I call meter challenges with the other brands. And sometimes what we see is that the other meter will register absolutely no water, will show 0 on the register, while our meter on the same line at the same time will show you what the meter is supposed to register, and that's whatever's in that 5-gallon bucket. So that's a gallon in that time frame, or 2 gallons, or whatever the time frame is that we've allowed water to flow into that bucket to get the test, to verify the proof of
Is
concept.
there anything that we received by
I will apologize.
anything that may be seeping by or slipping by on the capital meters? Do you have any kind of percentage of savings, an average percentage of savings over regular meters?
Yes,
What
sir.
would you?
Well, I mean, you know, it's, let me just say this, some of the mechanical meters are made better than some of the other mechanical meters. So while some of them are registering 0 during these challenges, some of them are registering some water. So they're doing better than the other mechanical meter. But if you were to ask, if you're, I don't believe this is what you're asking, what can we expect to close out the non-revenue water, the water that's actually getting lost somewhere? And that's a funny thing. We've got a lot of people that say, I don't know where my water loss is. The fact is that there are meters out there that are passing water through it and they're not registering, that's where your water loss is. So there's a leak at the meter. But about 15% is the highest level of closing out water loss just based on the meter itself. Now, that's not to say that I have the Mountain Water Supply, which is right outside of Gatesville, one of the first case examples, and I have information that one day if you all wanted to see this, the graphs, the charts, et cetera. But we replaced 1 meter at one location and discovered that there was 40,000 gallons of water going through the meter on a daily basis. And he was wondering where the water loss was, so that's part of the reason why I put meters out here first, for example. And when the customer got their bill, it was $5,000, and fortunate for them, they were a very wealthy user because it was a commercial account. It was actually Chaparral gas, so it's a utility. And they are only using 200 gallons a day now after they discovered that they had a leak on the property. The general manager said, hey, you have a leak on the property, here's the graphs, I'm going to show you what the usage actually is. They found it, it took them a few days, they had the water turned off. It came back and they were using about 1,200 gallons a day, and they still weren't satisfied. So they found the second leaks, and that's why it's doing about 200 gallons a day, which is basically exactly about all their usage of that location. Probably anybody ever there, but it is a transfer station for natural gas.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, 15% does not seem like a lot, but it's huge for a city like Houston or a city like El Paso. A lot of people say, I can't, you know, we only have a couple hundred, really 200 meters. I don't think we can afford to do it. And until you dig deeper and discover why your meter is losing water for you, will you not really understand how much you're giving away? Not that the customer is using it, but there's just bad plumbing out there. And most households across the nation, and that's where we're able to, you know, search.
What frequency is this year?
Well, if we're gonna use a drive read frequency, it's in the 900, 950 frequency range.
One that sends it here?
No, sir, that's gonna be about 440 to 470. right in that range?
I don't remember, it's a drop on.
Yes, sir. 440, 470, right in that range. You're looking at a license, the FCC has to approve it. I mean, they never turn it down. We're the ones that apply for it.
Okay.
We have a lot on the agenda, sir. I thank you for your time and.
Oh, absolutely. Anytime.
Appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Yes, sir. Right. Item B on the regular agenda, discuss, consider possible action concerning PUCT filings.
Hi, my name is James Craig, I'm with Schneider Engineering. Some presentations that I'll have to run for everybody. To give a little bit of background on Schneider Engineering, we are a full services engineering consulting firm based out of Bernie, Texas. I'm actually office out of College Station. Thank you very much for having us today. We have been working with you on a matter that has been with the PUC. They notified you about 4 years ago now, about 2015, 2016 timeframe, that there were some compliance issues related to I skipped a couple pages, but we are on page. Let's just work our way through that.
Sure.
Sorry about that. So, full services engineering consulting firm. There are about 80 employees, just under full-time employees and staff for Schneider. We work primarily for municipally owned utilities and electric cooperatives. We're primarily electrical engineering, though we do have a couple of people, including myself, who are not engineers, despite going to engineering schools, but that work in business consulting, financial services, regulatory support, and that's why we're here in front of you today. One area that we're really proud of is that our first clients that the company was founded with in 1991 are still our clients today, and we've just grown that base over time. On slide 4, I won't go through them, but there's an overview of all of our services, engineering, and in other areas of the electric utility business. So we can skip slide 5 unless you really would like to go over some of the structure of the market. On this slide, we have our diagram. What we're really focusing on are regulations relating to the substation ownership or lack thereof. And that's what the PUC is focused on, PUC being the Public Utility Commission, and ERCOT, Electric Reliability Council of Texas. ERCOT is the entity that is responsible for ensuring the reliable operations of the grid. Especially thinking back 2 weeks ago when it was excessively hot, there were a number of notifications about energy conservation that came out. There was also one yesterday's or last week as well. So on slide 6, there's a bit of overview of the regulatory agencies overseeing electric utilities. We are not focused on those in blue. These are not federal regulations. These are purely state and local regulations, primarily focusing on the Public Utility Commission and ERCOT. Any questions so far? Okay.
I think I got it.
Yeah. Feel free to interrupt if there are any questions. It's a little bit of a technical issue, and I am going through this very quickly, so please feel free to stop me at any time. So this is related to give you a bit of a background. You're a member of what we're calling the small public properties. It's a coalition of municipal utilities that were noticed by the Public Utility Commission, originally 2011. But you guys, Bartlett, you and another city weren't, noticed until 2015, 2016. So there's a bit of a delay, but you're still grouped in with those original utilities that were noticed, in 2011. And what that notice is concerning is that ERCOT found that you did not have a transmission operator. And what a transmission operator does is, in the event that there would be a need for rolling blackouts, because of energy shortages on the grid or reliability issues, in your particular instance, then the transmission operator has a lot of other functions, but for the city of Bartlett, what that transmission operator would be primarily responsible for is notifying the city that, of its obligations for load shed. So that would be taking blackouts or brownouts, as required by the electrical grid operator. You know, thankfully, to this point, we haven't had to have any of those situations since 2011, so it's not been an issue. But given the concerns about generation and shortages with not as much construction of new generation resources, new natural gas, new coal facilities, and more wind and renewables coming online, there's a concern that on a hot summer day, if the wind doesn't show up, there might not be enough generation on the grid to support the increasing load growth that's in Texas. So that's the big push on behalf of the Public Utility Commission, ERCOT. And that's why they've identified these municipal utilities that don't currently have a transmission operator, of which you're one. So to address that, you, along with the other SPPG members, have enlisted the help of an attorney and have filed applications for rule changes with ERCOT and the Public Utility Commission to allow for a reasonable exemption from these rules. And that's because you have relatively few electrical feeders compared to Austin or San Antonio or any larger municipality, or even Encore Centerpoint, with Encore serving the Dallas-Fort Worth area, Centerpoint serving Houston. And so with that comes concerns that if you are forced to curtail load or have rolling blackouts, police, fire, other services that are core essential functions to the operation and safety and maintenance of the city will be adversely affected, while those larger systems may not. So the core concern is that we want to make sure that you are doing your part to, what we're working to do is make sure that you are doing your part to support the reliability of the grid, but make sure that you're not being adversely affected because of the small size of your system. Any questions on that? Okay. We've listed in this presentation the original members, as well as yourself and the city of Goldsmith, who were the two late notice entities. You'll note that the city of Brady and the city of Pullman are no longer with the group due to resolving their identified issues in other manners. Flipping to slide 8, we've gone over a lot of this already. It's been a very lengthy process working to get this resolved. Some of it is working with the Public Utility Commission. We've worked with market participants through issuing a request for proposal bids for other entities to serve as your transmission operator. For the most part, the history of the transmission operator, it was whoever owned and controlled the substation. As over time, those relationships have been severed, leaving municipals like yourselves in a situation that you're in. So we issued RFPs for those services. The bids that were offered back either did not conform to ERCOT specifications, the RFP specifications, or were simply cost prohibitive on an annual basis. So with that, we went with looking at evaluating some rule changes that would allow you to contribute to the reliability, but protect the system and your citizens from adverse effects due to the system size. Those rule changes were turned down and have since been appealed to the Public Utility Commission, which is why we're here tonight. Any questions? A lot of good stuff going on. So currently, slide 9, we're sitting with an appeal at the Public Utility Commission. They've requested comments from various market stakeholders regarding the issue, not just the transmission operator status, but some adjacent issues as well. So those comments have been submitted to the PUC. We expect that to be taken up and reviewed by the commissioners at their next hearing, open meeting, which would be this coming Thursday. If not this meeting, then it would be the following open meeting, which is in about 2 to 3 weeks. So hopefully, we have high hopes for how things are going to turn, but we have a couple of potential solutions and next steps depending on how the PUC rules in mind. And those are on slide 10. The first of these is to continue working with the PUC and other market stakeholders to identify an amicable rule change that allows the city to continue to support the reliability of the grid in those circumstances, but protect the system and its citizens and its customers from, again, those adverse effects. I don't remember how many feeders you have off the top of your head, but if you only have 3 or 4 feeders and you're only being asked to curtail 5% of your load, you're only physically able to turn off 33% of the system at one time. So you're over supporting that reliability and it's adversely affecting customers. The second option for that is to continue to negotiate with Brazos, who owns your substation, Brazos Electric Cooperative. We pursued that with several other SPPG members and it hasn't proved to be fruitful to date. So we are we hope to continue to operate and negotiate something with that. It hasn't proven successful yet. The third option is the PUC option doesn't work out as we hope, is to self-designate. And we're still working on figuring out what the most cost-effective way to do that would be that would not mitigate any material impacts to the city. Yes.
You may be aware we recently signed an interlocal agreement with LCRA.
Right.
And I asked Alan Coons, who's our representative, what his thoughts regarding this matter are.
Right.
And he said that they could have been our Keto if Braddock would sell them a piece of equipment.
Right.
And Braddock won't do that. And Braddock, because of their other relationship with their supplier, doesn't want to be our Keto.
Right.
And so I think the best option that you presented was the first option, to continue with you until this process is completed through the review process, the input process. He said as far as Brady and self-designating as a CO, that was a very expensive mistake from his point of view.
Yes.
And so I would be very cautious for us to consider that. I think the appropriate response to your presentation would be to continue with you and see the process through.
Yes, thank you very much. We, the city of Brady actually in their made comments on our filing and the PUC's request for comments, and some of the numbers they quoted were close to $250,000 on that. So we would like to avoid that for you as much as possible.
We're working on paying your prior invoices, so thank you for bringing it to our attention.
Of course. Any other questions?
That's everything.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
I'll make a motion that we continue with Standard engineering, efforts, with the PUC that's presented and, timely, say the invoices that they produce.
All in favor? Any more in favor? See it? Five in favor? It's unanimous. You got a whistle? The whistle was their hand up. All right, item C, discuss and consider possible action concerning regarding, MESA, Mesa Municipal Electric Service Association Annual Conference on October 1st, 2019 in Bastrop.
Mr. Combs has recommended this to us, and, he recommended that, Mr. United go.
How much money does it cost?
Sir,
How much money does it cost?
the, $50 a person for one day, to be driving there down in the morning. I would like to go with Mr. United. Any other council member of the mayor should be able to go. It's primarily an informational, set of presentation. And since we're a member now, we should get as much information as we can, and there's possibly some employee potential contacts made for the line on there. And so I think it would be in our best interest to attend.
Okay.
At least a minimum of Mr. Unati and at least one other council member. And anyone else that would like to go, should certainly be able to go. It'll be a cost of $100 and we would be driving together that one day. So,
And this doesn't necessarily need to be voted.
well,
You just
I
like
think it should be
do
approved.
this.
I think it should be approved, attending the conference.
Okay. Any questions, sir?
I'd like to make that motion.
If you'd like to.
I make a motion that Frank and I in here room and any other council member of the mayor that wants to attend the nation conference on October 1st.
All in favor? 5 in favor, passes unanimously. All right, item D, discuss and consider possible action concerning TML conference.
Well, in the past, we've had representation at the TML conference. You have the information, I'll let you take it. If you can't give it to you. Is it bring her?
Same concept.
It's in San Antonio in October, possibly the 13th, it's not in. But, we've been represented before. I don't plan on attending, I just thought it ought to be on the agenda in case, Gail was one of the council members of the mayor wanted to.
Do you know the cost of that conference? Do you know the cost of that conference?
I think that registration is about $3.5. Plus your
$350
and money, so it's not inexpensive.
Well,
Is it a 1 day or 2 day or what is it?
I think it's 3. I brought all the materials, but they didn't get included.
October 19th and 11th.
You have the dates?
October 19th and 11th.
19th?
9th?
9th, 10th, and 11th in San Antonio. I don't want, do you want to go there?
I'll go together. Who wants to go? I'll go.
Let's go. I'll make a motion that, Robert Greenman and who else? Gail, do you want to go? You want to go?
I'd love to go, Dean.
Commission.
You want to go?
Yeah.
Okay, Robert Greenman, the mayor, any other council member wants to go, he and Mel Conference be allowed to do.
All in favor? All right, that's 5 in favor. All right. Let's see, item E, discuss, consider possible action concerning gifts to the city.
Okay, Gail received a payment from a citizen. How much was it?
Shirley Ishii, he was the owner of a two-story house on Peach Street where the Beanie store. She's reimbursed us for the $200 it costs for the,
No.
for the extermination.
Well, that,
I don't necessarily view that as a gift, I view that as something we should bill it for.
let me say this. The reason I put it on the agenda is because, she wasn't invoiced for that amount. So she gave that amount to the city. There was a reason that she gave it to the city. You know, the city is a nonprofit organization. And the city can receive gifts and contributions. I looked it up online to see whether or not a gift to the city was tax deductible. And I asked my CPA. And my CPA responded this way. As long as the gift is for public purposes and benefits the public good of the city, it is deductible. However, you or any other public individual cannot derive any personal benefit from the donation, such as a political contribution. You should also need to get a letter from the city stating that you did not receive any benefits from the contribution. So, you know, you can give a gift to the Bartlett Volunteer Fire Department, you can give a gift to the VHC, you can give a gift to your church, and it's for a specific purpose. And so, and all the city has to do to acknowledge that gift is to write you a small letter and says, thank you for the gift, and it was used for public good. And so, I like to encourage people to consider that. There's things around here that you could look at this building, redoing the bathroom to the kitchen or helping with the floor, the building across the street. And it made me think of Mr. Yanati's need for a high-powered chop saw. How big was the line we got to cut, sir?
We're gonna go to our next one in May.
How many?
8-inch.
An 8-inch old line, heavy-duty cast iron line. And so, that day I drove to Temple looking for a chop saw, and then met the mayor in Georgetown, and we rented a chop saw. And then he wanted to buy a chop saw, and these men were working at 10 o'clock at night, 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, with water under pressure, and they needed a good piece of equipment. So we authorized the purchase of a $1,500 chop saw. And I think in acknowledgement of their good work and their service and dedication, that I'd like to make a gift to the Public Works Department of $500 to go toward that. And encourage other people who would want to go and do something positive for the city to consider that also. And so, Gail said she would write me a letter, and that's all I want is a letter acknowledging it. And I'm not receiving any benefit, I'm giving it for public
Except for the
good.
publicity.
Sir?
I said except for the publicity right now. Never mind, we get here.
Okay,
All right.
that's all I had to say. We should thank the lady and write her a letter also.
Absolutely. All right, next, call this meeting into executive session at 7:58 PM. Let's see. Under Texas Government Code, section 551.071 and 551.074. Discuss, consider possible action regarding the appointment of a law firm to overview an investigation of financial records and of the conduct of municipal officers. That's .071. Discuss, consider possible action regarding qualifications, duties, and roles of mayor and city council members. That's 0.07. Also, 551.074, deliberate appointment, evaluation, dismissal, or dismissal of public officer, or to hear the complaint or charge against the officer, but an officer regarding the mayor. 0.074 is discuss consider possible action regarding pay increases for K County and Rosemont Ortiz in the Public Works Department. 0.074 is discuss consider possible action concerning applications for city office clerk. Okay, let's go to it. Good old guy.
I don't care who you're meeting about these, you're gonna have to call and cancel, just like you do with me. Just like a break line ride.
You're doing a good job with this meeting, by the way. You're doing a good job.
Yeah. You may want to do the other item.
I'm still without electricity. My dad, we have no electricity. Still. Now. Let's see over there. It's on the last budget, please.
Oh my gosh. I got lots of keys in my belt.
Oh.